Good Wednesday morning, and God, I thank you for the opportunity just to say, God, I thank you. I want to talk to you today. I want to talk about the shutdown that we're dealing with. I happened to be out yesterday, and in the midst of being out, I was allowed to be a part of conversations, and more of me listening to the conversations than me talking and engaging. But did have some things to say, and in the midst of these conversations, it helped me see some things and how some of us are seeing things. I want to start today, and I want to talk about the Affordable Care Act. We should know what this is. Some of us don't, but also known as Obamacare. That's the name that it was given based on the president that was in office when it was enacted. So as I was out yesterday and I'm listening, this was the story that's being shared amongst people. And the surprising part was some of the people that looked just like me. And the conversation was, the shutdown is the Democrats' fault. Okay, we're entitled to feel and think and believe whatever we feel we want to believe. That's the beautiful part about our democracy as it stands right now. But just because you speak it does not mean that it's true. Now, conversation went and it started concerning giving health care to illegals. I'm going to change that word. Giving health care to people that are not Americans. That's not true. What the Democrats are fighting for, what they're standing firm on, is the fact that they're wanting us, the ones that actually utilize the Affordable Care Act, the marketplace, to be able to afford their health care. Now, President Bush, the second President Bush, enacted something that this is a part of the fight. If you or I, or even a person who's visiting this country, who happens not to be an American, was to go to the emergency room, the emergency room cannot turn them away. They have to stabilize them before they release them back into the public. But how can they be able to do that if the person doesn't have insurance? There are credits to the Affordable Care Act that the Democrats are fighting for that will allow those hospitals, which is a business, to be able to know beyond a shadow of a doubt they're going to be paid for the services that they render to make sure this person has been taken care of, regardless if they have insurance, they're Americans or not. And this is what they're fighting for. The Democrats are standing firm on. But the story has been turned around and manipulated, that ugly word, to sell to us that the Democrats want to give health care to people who are not Americans. And that's not true. But I'll sell you on what I need to sell you on to get what I want out of what I'm trying to do. The Democrats do not control any parts of the three branches of the government. They don't. So the Democrats are not responsible for the shutdown. But they do have some power, and they're utilizing that, but they're utilizing that power to assist all of us, red, yellow, black, brown, in being able to have insurance. And even if you're not a person that actually utilizes the Affordable Care, the marketplace, Obamacare, If those subsidies are taken away, then we're all going to pay. The prices are going to go up on healthcare, and the prices on healthcare are high anyway, but it's going to get even worse quicker. So this is what the Democrats are fighting for when they're standing firm. They didn't close the government. They're fighting with what they have in order for our healthcare, not a Democrat, not a Republican, not an independent, an American's healthcare, that we all can have it. That's what they're fighting for. Now, I'm going to give you my thought process on some things as I look. I think this was a part of the plan, the shutdown, to create something that's not actually there. We see where the National Guard are going from one place to the other to assist in so-called problems in these different states. They're now dealing with Portland, and they're in Chicago. Am I sitting here saying to you there's not problems with crime in certain areas? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you've got the executive branch. Then you have state and local government. If within those states, and the governor of the states have access to the National Guard, their own National Guard. If it was a situation, the mayors of those cities can reach out to the governor of that state and say, I need, and he or she can do and will do. The federal government does not have to get involved. But here's what's going on. If I'm in a position, and this is all about the control, that I can create chaos, sell a story that really isn't true, then I can get what I want, which is dictatorship. I'll explain a little bit better. We are in a shutdown. What normally happens during a shutdown, then federal employees do not have to concern themselves about losing their jobs under previous administrations. Now things have changed, but it gets even better. Normally a furloughed employee can also, once, of course, they're not going to get paid, but when they do come back to work, the shutdown is over, they will be back paid from the time it started up until the day of, and everything falls right back in place. Well, here's the conversation piece. Now they're talking about not back paying certain federal employees. This is coming from the top. Well, if you do that, and you're trying to create an insurrection, and you've heard that word many times before, then I, being the president, will have the ability to enact martial law. And he takes over everything. Think about this for a second. If you go in my pocket and you take my money, I take your money, you got hell to pay. So if he does that, we can try to be as calm and peaceful as we want to be, but you go to taking people's livelihood away, you're going to get what you've been trying to create, which is what is going on. And if that happens, now I can enact martial law, and I've got what I want. We're being played like, look, pieces on the board to get what they want, and they're not concerned about who they hurt in the process. But I came on here today to say and hope you'll hear me and you'll think beyond what you're being told from a standpoint of whose fault, and also understand better why certain things are happening based on what the Democrats are doing. They're fighting for all of us, not a political party. My apologies for taking as long as I did, but I wanted to get that out because I needed to get that out. Be blessed on this Wednesday. We are just starting to see what we're headed into, and I'm hoping and praying we will become more educated and know how to deal with this better, instead of allowing certain people to push us in places so that they can just get what they need out of us, and then they just push us to the side. This is crazy. The midterms is a little over a year away. Get registered to vote. Pay attention to what's going on and who's doing what, so that you know how to vote, which will be best for this country, not you, the individual. Take care.